Hey, I'm Susanna Lanier, actor and acting coach for over 25 years.
I'm Jess Greenberg, casting director for over 10 years.
We're here to help you navigate this crazy, creative, and sometimes chaotic journey into the film and television world.
We share our insights as to what works.
And invite some pretty spectacular guests to share more ideas to move you on your journey.
So without further ado, let's get into the show.
Today, we have the privilege of talking to Dawn Ford. Dawn is an award-winning actress who has been making her living here in Montreal for over 30 years. And throughout her highs and lows, she has always managed to maintain a positive mindset. Hello, welcome, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Susanna. Hi, Jess. So nice
Hello.
to be here. Wow, this is exciting.
Well, we're
It
exciting
is.
to have you.
Yes, so excited. So I just wanted to start by asking you sort of your origin story and how you got into this business and industry.
Wow, I was thinking about that earlier. I was really young when I got interested in it. Like, to date myself, I watched the Ed Sullivan Show when I was a child. You girls probably don't even know what that is, but it was an entertainment show back in the 60s, and I watched that with my family every Sunday night. It was like religiously every Sunday we'd turn on Ed Sullivan, and I watched Topo Gigio. He was a little puppet that was played by Giuseppe. He would play Topo Gigio. It was a little hand puppet. And I started imitating him, and also Rich Little, these guys who imitated other people's voices. I don't know, I was like 3 or something. I just thought it was so fun. And then I'd, string up a blanket outside in our backyard and have a little record player and do dances and charge a nickel or whatever, a quarter. So I was pretty enterprising, I think, at a young age to get into, to just keep going with fun. And I was thinking about my first job in film and television. I think it was Meatballs 3. That was and I played a rat that was, we were couples, like guys and girls on these sea-doos. And so I was the female rat.
Like dressed as a rat? I still don't understand. Yeah. Dressed as a rat in
Well, we
Meatballs
were
3?
the rats because we were like, I don't know, motorcycle, but we were like our motorcycle gang, but on sea-doos.
Right. Okay. I thought you meant like literally like a rat. Like an action. I was like, such a strange show. I'm sorry I missed that. But...
So we were dressed in leather and, the high boots and stuff like that. I think that was my first film role.
Did you have like an agent? Like, were you already like in it, or this was just like a...
I think I got the job through, I was going to John Abbott at the time studying acting.
Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't know, Dawn, now you're telling, because I didn't know this, and I've known you for a while. You studied at John Abbott.
Yeah.
So you were going to pursue theater, and because I thought your life took a whole different direction, and then you came back into the business.
Oh, well, no, I was doing that, and then I went to Concordia, right? I went to do I was doing theater, music, and dance at Concordia. It was an interrelated arts degree. And during that degree, I became very involved in music. I just found, and that's when I had a band called The Perfect Now. And we actually went and played at John Abbott. And we toured around all the clubs in Montreal. And then music became always just recorded music. They didn't want live bands anymore. So I went back and I finished my degree and left music for something a little bit more secure, like acting. Yeah.
Right. Right. Of course. But there was a story you had told me, and I wanted you to tell everybody. And that was when you got that first major voice gig. Because I remember you were wondering if you manifested it. You manifested your first major voice gig. So could you share that story? Because that's like my favorite story ever of anybody.
It's so funny because I shared it last Sunday at I'm a practice Buddhism. And last Sunday, once a month, we have a meeting. There's, a few hundred people. We have a meeting and somebody gives their experience. And a small part of my experience was when I first started practicing. And I was very, very poor. Like I saw What's Love Got to Do with It with
Yeah.
Tina Turner. And I saw in the end of the movie that she transformed her life by chanting
Yeah.
Namyoho Renge Kyo. So I said, I've got to learn that. And then like a week later, I was working on a film, Brain Scan,
Mhm.
as a coach, and so was Bill Rowett. And he was writing these Chinese characters, and I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Oh, I'm practicing writing Namyoho Renge Kyo." And then within a week, I was at a Buddhist meeting. Um, so he was writing what Tina Turner had been practicing in the movie.
Right.
That's where the
Wow.
connection is there. So I went to the meeting at the Buddhist Center, and I just fell in love with the practice. And they say I was there chanting with everyone, and when somebody leaned over and said, "This is where you chant for what you want." And I was like, "Oh my God,
Oh my God, I
you
get to do
chant for
this.
what you want."
You get to get what you want.
Yeah. What?
Wow.
That doesn't sound
pressure.
like spirituality. And so I did. And I was a single mom raising two kids. At that point, I was driving a truck for United Parcel Service.
Yes,
And I
that's why I
said,
remember you had a job that was like nothing to do with acting. It just
nothing to do.
financially,
Yeah.
you had to make
Do
ends meet, and
something.
you were a
Yeah.
single mom. And I
Yeah.
remember you were broke, and yeah, very exciting.
Yeah. We
Good
had to
stuff.
decide between popcorn and an orange for dinner. I remember it was terrible. So I chanted every day for 2 hours. And out of the blue, Andy Grin, this wonderful human being, he from Sinar, which is a closed business now, he he hired me to play Mrs. Van Snob in a cartoon called Little Lulu, and I did that for a day, and then I kept chanting. So that was one gig, and then like a week later, I said, just call him back. And I said, "Hey, Andy, I really loved working with you. Thank you so much. Anything else coming up?" And he goes, "Actually, we need a replacement." Little Lulu was being played by Tracy Ullman,
Yeah,
and she was too expensive.
right.
So she did the first 6 episodes. And then the girl who was playing Iggy Inch was Jane Woods, and became the lead. She became Little Lulu. And he said, "Do you want to come in and read for Iggy?" And I was like, so like the next day I was in there, and they booked me for 2 years. I played that character
Wow. And
Wow.
you gave up your job
as a truck
as a
driver.
truck driver.
Never had to go
And
back
you
to that
didn't
again.
have to pick orange and popcorn for
Then we
the
ate
staple.
pasta. Yeah, it was really good.
You made it to the big time.
Big
But
time.
that
It
was
was.
amazing. And that,
Yeah.
do you credit that because of your chanting?
Yeah,
You do.
1,000%, 1,000%. Because I remember sitting in front of the scroll. We have a scroll, a mandala that we chant to. And I remember sitting in front and saying, if I don't believe in me, nobody else will. So
Wow.
I really, really chanted to believe in my gifts, talents, and capacities.
Have you had any other like pivotal moments like that, like where you feel as though you were maybe in a lull and then with chanting came something like as obvious as that story?
Something just happened.
Oh, good. I love that.
Something just happened. I was really feeling like I needed to grow, right? TikTok, I'm not 20, okay, 25. But it's like TikTok, I've got to grow. So I decided, I just wrote down, my altar that I wanted representation internationally. And I chanted about it an hour and a half a day, not 2 hours, but an hour and a half a day. And literally, and I had a goal to have that happen by the end of October, but by October 14th, I was signing with a manager in Vancouver.
Wow.
Yeah, to rep me in the US because I'm also going to court this month for my US papers. I had them before, but I'm renewing them. They expired over COVID. And I was just all of a sudden this summer, I was like, I want to get my papers. I think this is a good time. And, I guess it's appealing to, because the manager, they have an agency in Atlanta, Georgia. So it's nice for them to have clients here in Montreal that have papers too. So that's pretty exciting. And like that came out of nowhere too. I just happened to go, oh, okay, I'm going to call this actor who has reps in Vancouver. And he's like, oh yeah, the agency's looking for somebody new. And why don't you blah de blah? And all of a sudden, within a week, I was having a Zoom meeting, and we just agreed we loved each other. And
Thing about you that I've
Mhm.
always said, and I was talking to Jess about you yesterday, is that Dawn doesn't seem to worry about societal pressures. Like I'm going to be 50 and already like, you feel like you're preparing for the retirement. Like
Oh,
Dawn,
yeah.
every time I bump into you, which is once in a while, it feels like you're reinventing yourself onto the
Yeah.
next project.
Thank
So
you.
do you feel pressure from societal pressures in terms of your age, being a woman, whatever, like there's so many things that we can create resistance to
Yeah.
because we've been sorry, but a lot of
Programmed.
it is conditioned from society to feel
100%.
old or whatever, not attractive enough, not whatever, um so do you feel those kinds of pressures?
Well, I mean, I certainly have been aware of them, and thank you for saying how I'm always reinventing myself, because
Yeah.
I am. That's something I really do. I don't put my career in the hands of anybody else, aside from my representation team. But that's we co-create together, right? There's a conversation that's going on, and how things are going, what direction we want to go in. But I do not sit on my butt listening to people telling me you're over,
Right.
girl. In fact, when I did receive lifetime membership from ACTRA in 2019, just before the pandemic, and in my acceptance speech, I said, I am just getting started.
Yes.
Yes. And it's true in a way. I kind of felt like I was just turning another corner. And um, all that stuff that you mentioned, never enough, well, doesn't belong to me. I don't feel that way. And I've noticed that I've worked more as I got older. Um, the category, 30s and 40s, there's a lot of people in that category. When you get to my stage in life, a lot of people have left the business. They give up. It's tiring. It's a lot of stress, right? They retire, whatever. But for me, I still have like a very youthful spirit, and I'm kind of fulfilling my dreams of playing little old ladies. I do love playing them. I just played one this week. 85-year-old Auntie Lulu, she's doing a commercial for IGA. They're having every year they do a campaign, it's an animated, like
Yes.
a little
Yeah.
vignette. And this year they needed Auntie Lulu. It's a very touching story, actually. It's quite sweet and sad.
Because part of what I wanted to ask is how do you maintain such a positive attitude? Is it do you learn these ideas through Buddhism, or is it through something else other than?
Yeah, I do a lot of things.
Okay.
That was one of your questions I saw, right? Like,
Yeah. What is
I've
your
always been
daily
that way.
practice
Yeah.
to maintain such a positive mindset?
Um, I don't wonder if it's positive. Sometimes I don't feel like really upbeat. Sometimes it's like this week I had some struggles with sleep, and I was not feeling very positive. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm aware that when things are happening, it's part of just being human, you know?
Right.
And that I just have to go through something, that it's not all daisies. In that perspective, but maybe you mean positive in my attitude towards living as an actor. Is that what you're really thinking
No,
of? No,
lifestyle. Yeah, like
Towards life.
even when you're going, even sometimes, like I said, we used to bump into each other all the time on my walk, and you were walking the dog. We
yeah,
often bumped into each other, and I always found even when you were going through
yeah,
more, challenging times, frustration, like any human
yeah,
being, your perspective on it was always kind unique. Like you always had faith. You always
yeah.
trusted it. So that's kind of what I was getting. I thought it was such an interesting, refreshing attitude, and it was always like that. So I'm curious where that comes from.
Back in the 80s, I took something called the Silva method, which was whenever you had something crappy come out of your mouth, you'd say, cancel, cancel. And you'd you'd say something, like, oh, that's going to be really hard. Cancel, cancel. That's going to be so easy. And I did that for a long, long time. It's meditation where you go to level, what they call level. You close your eyes, you turn your eyeballs look up so that you go into alpha state. And that was a big beginning, I think, in turning my life around to seeing things with a different perspective. Because I didn't have that in high school. I didn't have it in my family. But when I met the Silva method, it really taking those classes really helped me to have an open mind to other possibilities than just what, the world was telling me how I had to live. And then I guess then I met Buddhism. That was in the 80s, and then I met Buddhism in the 90s, and continued on both of those paths. And then in the last about 8 years, I started working with something called Access Consciousness, which is also, it's living in the question instead of the conclusion. So
Nice.
instead of saying, oh, this is going to be hard, saying, I wonder what it would be like if this was really easy.
Yeah.
Or acting is a tough life. I wonder how this is going to turn out. I wonder how this day can be better than I never imagined. So that when there's a period at the end of a sentence, it stops the flow of energy. But when you put a question mark and you don't know how it just sort of goes, okay, your body and my life just goes, oh, what else is possible here? And that's one of the questions they suggest you ask is, what else is possible here? How come I'm so lucky?
Yeah.
How
Or
come
it's like,
everything comes to me easily?
right. Yeah, I've seen methods saying like you could ask the universe, like, show me how easy it can be to live as an actor, or show, and then you're just surrendering to the possibilities. Like you say, it's like getting rid of the limiting beliefs, and just show me what is possible, because it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a struggle. So
I love
I
that.
like the questions too. It's the
Yeah.
same sort of, yeah, that's so
Universe, show
interesting.
me. Yeah, show me.
And then so do you listen to your intuition to see where it's going to take you?
It's more listening to the energy, feeling the energy.
Okay.
So that's part of Access, where you just start to get in touch with the energy. Like if I say to myself, or if I get an audition, I read it and it feels heavy. Truth, will this create the future I desire? Or will it decay the future I desire? So, if it's heavy, not heavy intellectually, but energetically, if I pick it up and go, ooh, oh, that feels heavy. I
Right.
don't think, then, but like I have one, I'm going to do a self-tape after, and it's so late.
So you're excited about it.
I'm excited, but it's like, oh yeah, that juices me up.
Yeah.
That really turns me on energetically, more than intuition, which kind of feels a little intellectual maybe, but energetically for me, I'm tuning it. I'm working with it too. It's like I have to differentiate. Sometimes is it my mind telling me it's light, or do I really feel it's light? So that's just practice, I guess. And so I'm still practicing, but I instantly read this role and went, oh my God. This
It
That's
felt
so
like
exciting.
fun. It's so
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
So your daily practice now that
Is Buddhism.
is
Yeah.
Buddhism. And so before you were saying, when you specifically are trying to attract something, you go on very long chants or trying to get through something like an hour and a half, 2 hours, but on a daily. So what would be the average?
Like last year I was chanting a lot, but I didn't have a goal.
Okay.
Okay. And I had my best year as an actor ever last year.
Wow.
Yeah. Like it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And so this year I was feeling something I was really sensing that my business needed to grow, and I don't typically write things down, but something I just felt light to write down, representation, worldwide representation. And then I said, oh, I'm going to really chant for that and for everyone's happiness involved, right? So, yeah, that became an hour and a half. But so strict that like if I'm working, I've got to leave really early and I'm not back till then I'm gonna, I'm not gonna kill myself. I do have to do other things
Mhm.
Right.
too. But it seems to set the tone for the day in such a way that I'm just really used to it.
As an actor and working in the business for many years, like how have you dealt with the, I don't like to say rejection, but I'm sure
Mhm.
you've done so many auditions and it's not always
Hundreds,
bookings. Yeah, exactly. So
hundreds.
how do you maintain like, or how do you stay the course and just maintain like the level of energy and positivity and just the drive to continue? Because like there's so many young actors that I find they get so discouraged
Discouraged.
so fast, and
Yeah.
it's all part of it. So like how have you maintained that?
There are times when it's very tough, and at the same time, it's like, well, I chose this life, so I'm choosing this. I can choose again. I can
Mm-hmm.
choose something else. I don't have to stay. I can choose again. So if I wake up every day and I keep choosing, so I guess I'm going to keep choosing. I can
Right.
always choose something else. And there are times, well, like I know, I did it more when there was in-person auditions, but after an audition, we put a lot of work into an audition, and to me, that's my show. That's the job. I just booked this audition. That's my gig.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do what I wanted to do? Did I work on it as much as I wanted to? Did I give my all? Did I have fun? Most importantly. And then after the show, I take myself out for a bubble tea.
Nice. So you give yourself a little kind of reward. So the whole
Yeah, it's
thing
like, oh, the
becomes a
Yeah.
show's
fun
over.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, let's celebrate. Actors do that after a play, right? They finish the evening, let's go for a drink or whatever. So,
So to celebrate and take it as a
yeah,
win to have the audition.
yeah, yeah. Which
Thank you. I love
yes,
that.
yeah, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's a great gift.
Mm-hmm.
And that is working. I'm working my craft. And every audition,
Exactly.
I might do 20 auditions and not book anything, but then everything I've done, it's been like having a master class. Right? And if
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, right? And if I'm invited to an audition, now more than ever, there's hundreds and hundreds of actors being invited for one role because of self-taping, right?
Yeah.
The it's it's great in the sense that I can be seen in many different provinces or
Mm-hmm.
countries even. So at the same time, you're still chosen to be read for, like, okay, let's see Dawn read for this role. So that's like a gift. It's like Christmas, right? Here you go. Here's an audition. Oh, wow. And oh, does it feel light? Okay, yeah. Does it feel light? No. Okay, so just what I like to pass on that for now,
Yeah. I like
and
that too, because
mm-hmm,
I've said also, like, I don't think you have to accept every audition that comes your way if it doesn't feel right or if you feel burnt out or,
mm-hmm,
especially with all the self tapes going out,
mm-hmm.
you don't have to accept it.
And how do you feel as a casting director, Jess? Does that complicate your day?
It could, it stings, especially if I'm asking specifically for someone,
Okay.
like, but sometimes agents will submit people and we send out a request and then they come back, oh, actually, they saw the sides or it's not going
Yeah.
to work or something came up and whatever. And it happens, especially in
Yeah.
Montreal, like we feel it a bit more because we don't have that many actors. So it's
Yeah.
like if one person can't do it, it's like, oh my God,
Oh
like
my
a
God.
little whatever, but it always works out. And I do respect the actor. I know, all I know is what I'm asking of them. I don't know how many other things are being
They're dealing with. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's
So
great.
I think I'm empathetic towards
Mm-hmm.
the
You could.
actor. What are some of the most memorable roles that you've played?
Well, just now Granny that I played for IGA, but
Yay.
I have something coming out on Valentine's Day. It was supposed to be coming out this Sunday, but it's not a Christmas movie. So they decided to postpone it till Valentine's Day on City. It's going to be coming out on City TV in England, in Canada. I'm not sure what channel it's on in the States, but I play Italiana nonna. She's a nonna.
Nice.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
she teaches
Fun.
her grandson how to make a salsa d'amore, which is it's Italian love sauce.
Amazing. Oh, that's so great.
Oh my
Fun.
God, it
That
was
is
so
very
fun. So fun.
It
It
was a
filmed
fun
in
shoot.
Montreal.
No, we shot it in Edmonton, and I was, this is part of my year last year. I was just, watching TV with Wyatt. We were watching something, and the phone rings, and it's this wonderful guy, Michael Lazarovich. He said, "Dawn, I don't know if we hadn't spoken in 10 years," and he said, "You might not remember me, but," and I did. He said, "We have a COVID conflict right now. Our, this actress, it was a supporting lead. She came down with COVID. Could you do an Italian accent by any chance?" I was like,
Like,
"Yeah, I
can
can
I?
actually. As a matter of fact, I can." So he goes, "I don't expect you to put yourself on tape visually, but auditory. We need to hear." So they sent me the script and I recorded. It was 10 o'clock at night. I was recording my Italian accent. I
Crazy.
sent it off to them. They were 2 hours earlier, so they had still had time to listen. I just went to bed. I was like that's gonna happen. And the next morning they called and they said, "We want to put you on a plane today."
Wow.
Amazing.
I'm like, "Okay." So I got on the plane. I actually had to run and I had a call back in the afternoon for something, which I did book too, but I had a call back and then I drove right to the airport from the callback and got on the plane and was reading the script going, "What am I doing? I have no idea."
Wow.
And I had to rewrite everything so she had an Italian accent because it was written very, "Would you like
Not
some
Italian.
spaghetti?" Instead of, "What do you like? Some spaghetti, huh?" Because there's this. So, and the people were so wonderful. Dylan Pierce directed it, and it was with Marcus Rosner, and Michael Lazarovich, and we just had so much, like, talk about beautiful people. Oh my God. It's
That's
one of the best
amazing.
experiences I've ever had. There was no,
Wow.
and the director would just say it the way you want. Say what you want to do something different. Go ahead, do it. Yeah, do what you want. I got to play with the character and it was just magical from the get-go. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with everyone on
Yeah,
Valentine's.
I can't wait to
That
watch
is
it. It
so
sounds
fun.
fantastic.
From Italy with Amore.
Amazing.
Sounds
Yeah.
like my kind of movie. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
It was so fun. It was so fun. Yeah.
Well, that is great. That's a great story.
Yeah. Yes, anything can happen. That's the thing.
Anything.
When we least expect it, it doesn't
Mhm.
always come through like it didn't really, I mean, I had to do the Italian audition, but it did not come through an audition like I didn't have to
Traditional.
wait, a traditional audition. It came
Mhm.
through the back door kind of thing.
And from someone who remembered you and likes you and
Yes.
wants to work with you, which
Yes.
also just be a good person.
Yeah, it's part of what we were talking about on the last time, and that's why about
Is that right?
well, putting your best foot forward, and it's not always about that audition. Sometimes it's about the future, so be kind, be open, put your best foot forward, right? And you never know what's gonna come around later, and things like this
10
do
years
come around.
later.
And
Like
and a
10
lot
years.
of times it is 10 years later. Like,
Amazing.
yeah.
But
So
he
cool.
also was trusting me too, like, because he was here doing workshops at Andrea Kenyon at Beavis. He was bringing in casting directors from Los Angeles, acting teachers from Los Angeles, and doing like weekend workshops with them. And he had invited, I went to one of them, and he just kept inviting me back. And that's how he got to see me work. Now, he was just producing those workshops at that time. He wasn't producing movies. Now, he had remembered me from that acting workshop
Wow.
from
It's
10 years
amazing.
before.
Yeah.
Totally amazing.
Yeah.
Totally amazing.
Yeah.
And one of the most uplifting, inspiring people to work with. Like, just always yes and light and fun and what else is possible. Like that's how all of the people I was working with on that project were like. It's just such a gift. Such a
Yeah.
gift. Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to watching it.
Okay. And so, Dawn, is it you started doing stand-up? Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Could you
I
tell us a
started
bit
doing
about it?
stand up. What? Yeah, I'd love to tell you about it because I I did about 6 years. I started doing improv at Second City in Toronto, and when I was living there for about a year, and then I moved back to Montreal, and I continued another 6 years at Montreal Improv, which is fabulous. It's such a great asset to every actor's toolkit to be able to, pull ideas out of your hat on the moment, and then it sort of just led to doing stand up. I had heard that Joey Elias, a very famous Montreal comedian, was teaching stand up, so I took his class. It's terrifying. Oh my God. Oh God. And then I let it go. I try, I didn't feel that great at it, and I didn't really understand how to put a set together. And then in 2017, there was a comedy show with just women, and I said, "Okay, I'll do it. I'm gonna do it. And I practiced this set, and it went over so well because I was speaking from my life experience as a woman, and the audience was all women, and all the other comics were women. No, the audience was men and women, but all the other comics were women, and it's typically a man's world comedy, so it was very freeing. And then I said, okay, I guess I could keep going. And I did comedy up until just the night before the pandemic shut everything down. I did a show.
Wow.
And I had my little dog with me. Actually, he started to come to shows with me. He would come on stage, and we did a little
That's so
joke
cute.
together. It was really cute. But and then so I stopped doing comedy over COVID, but this May of 2022, as the restrictions lifted, I just decided it was time to get back, and it was like I'd never stopped. It was amazing. And so in September of this year, a competition started. It's called the Montreal Grand. Troy Stark is the producer, and all the comedians get a chance to compete. And I got into the semifinals.
Wow.
Grandma's doing it pretty good. Shazam.
Yes.
I don't know if there's any other grandmas in the competition, but I write, I perform, I adjust after every show. I tape all my shows, I watch them back, and I take out words, I add words. Some words don't work. So, like it's quite complicated. There's a lot that goes into it that I didn't know when I first started, and takes time to sort of figure out who you are, what your voice is, and I think it's really fun. It's something I do have some amount of direction where I can go, okay, now I'm going to try this. And I've done stand up in the States. I've done stand up in Ottawa. I've done stand up mostly in Montreal.
Mhm.
It's not a profession so far. Acting is my premier role.
Amazing. Wow, that's exciting.
It's
Yeah.
very exciting. It's fun. It keeps me juiced,
Yeah.
right? And it's my voice. It's what I want to say.
Yeah. Very cool.
So
Okay.
before we're going
Before
to
we go.
start to wrap up, is there any advice that your older self would have told your younger
My
self? Is
younger
there
self?
anything you would have told your younger self?
I wouldn't change anything in the
Nothing.
world. You're doing great.
Yes.
You're
And that's what I
doing
would say to
great.
you both. You're doing great. You're doing amazing. Keep going.
Amazing.
I would say that to everybody who's listening. You're doing
Okay.
great. If nobody ever told you that, if you didn't tell yourself that today, you're doing great. If you are following your heart, following creativity, this planet is so desiring joy and creativity and connection, and that's what we are all a part of. We're connecting people on the planet. We're connecting each other through showing each other what it's like to be a human. And Yeah, you're doing great, guys and girls.
You're doing
Thanks,
great.
Dawn. Dawn,
Thank you
you're
so
doing
much.
great.
You're doing great.
That was awesome. Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
So, for today's takeaways, don't take yourself too seriously, trust your gut, create a good daily routine to maintain a healthy mind, and every audition is a show in itself and deserves to be celebrated. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.